The African Union Summit in Addis Ababa brought together heads of state and governments. However, political conflicts relegated the theme of this year's summit on human rights, with a special focus on women's rights, to the back seat. My colleague Esther Githui-Ewart has more on the story.
There was nothing ordinary about the 26th session of the African Union Summit, which saw a change of guard when longtime Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe handed over the continental body's chairmanship to yet another long-serving president, Idriss Deby of Chad. Leaders focused on the continued political violence in Burundi, the political crisis and human rights violations in South Sudan, terrorism that has afflicted many countries in Africa, a proposal to withdraw from the International Criminal Court (ICC), among other critical issues. Outgoing AU Chairman Robert Mugabe called on fellow African leaders to combine efforts to fight terrorism in all its manifestations.
Terrorism has become a major scourge and challenge in many parts of Africa, thus negatively affecting the peace and safety of our people.
Somali Islamist group Al-Shabaab has wreaked havoc in Somalia and neighboring Kenya. However, Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta says his country will remain committed as part of the African Union force to fight the terrorist group. On January 15th, Al-Shabaab militants killed more than 100 Kenyan soldiers in an army camp in Somalia.
Our soldiers' blood will not be shed in vain. We are fighting a global war that requires a global response.
Speaking during an official tour of Kenya, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, whose country and others in the West African region have been afflicted by the Boko Haram terrorist group, voiced his concern.
Nigeria has had her fair share of dastardly acts committed by Boko Haram.
On the political crisis that has devastated Burundi for more than 9 months since President Pierre Nkurunziza decided to run for a controversial third term, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon told the African Union Summit that urgent action was needed to protect human rights and dignity.
The longer this situation continues, the more people will be killed and affected.
Chadian President Idriss Deby, who is now the African Union chairman, asked the continental body to intervene and stem the violence in Burundi, as well as the political crisis in South Sudan.
C'est le cas pour le Burundi.
In the cases of Burundi and South Sudan, the African Union must pursue its efforts so that this can find a way to peace, and this depends on ending violence.
The African Union Summit also set up an ambitious plan for the next 50 years dubbed Agenda 2063. AU Commission Chairman Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma addressed women's rights, saying,
"We must continue to place our people and their basic human rights at the center of Agenda 2063.
Agenda 2063 hopes to achieve peace, unity and prosperity for Africa, but it is already being tested by political strife and terrorism. AU has backed off from sending a force to intervene in the Burundi crisis, where the government is categorical that such a force will be seen as invasion and treated as such." Esther Githui-Ewart, VOA News, Washington.